Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. I've been meaning to do a video on a get-home bag that's somewhat of a minimalistic get-home bag. Everything you see here is what I put together that will allow you to get home. However, after watching the video, if you have any ideas on add-ons that we can do to this that will make it better, please put it in the comments below. What I'm going to do is, after I go over each item and give you a quick description of it, I am going to go ahead and leave the price that I paid for each item, and at the end I'll leave you the total. In addition to that, before I forget, I'm going to try to go ahead and develop a list of a get home bag on my Amazon storefront with all of the items you see here or similar items to it. One that is on the less expensive side for people that are on a budget, and one that's on the higher side as far as money goes for people that have more money to spend. That way it'll all be there for you in case you decide that you want to build your own get home bag with some of these items. The first thing we're going to start with is food. Now remember, this is what I picked. You can put whatever you want in there. This pack is meant to last you anywhere between 1 to 3 days. We have some ramen noodle soup. These cost me, for 6 of them, $1.36. Many of you may say, well, how am I going to cook these? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if it were me, I wouldn't cook them. You may think this is kind of yucky, but you can actually eat these ramen noodles. You can crunch them up, and you can pour the seasoning over them and eat them like if they were potato chips, and they're actually not bad when you eat them that way. I also decided to add some hard candies in here. There's about 10 of them at 25 calories a piece. Gives you an additional 250 calories of sugar that will give you an energy boost for your hike. In addition to that, I added a couple of packs of spray-dried coffee in here to give you a caffeine boost as well. I decided to go with this small tin metal cup that you can use to boil water in, and the life straw that you can use to drink the water out of the cup once the water has been pasteurized and or disinfected with bleach. Now this just happens to be a droplet bottle that I had sitting around at home. It's a 2-ounce bottle and I filled it up with bleach. This should be enough water to sanitize all the water that you would need to get home in 2 or 3 days or even more. The rule of thumb is that if you're drinking water that is somewhat clear, you're going to add 8 drops of water per gallon. And if it's murky water, you can add up to 20 drops of water per gallon. And then you just have to make sure to let that bleach gas off by not drinking that water for about half an hour to an hour after you've treated it with bleach. I went with the Garden Variety Campers tool or multi-tool. That's a pretty cheap multi-tool that I picked up at Walmart. However, this will service you well for a 2 to 3 day trip home. It comes with a small sheath or a small holder that you can attach to your belt. And as you can see, it's not state-of-the-art, but it does do what it's supposed to do. And like I said, although this is not very expensive, the intent is to allow everyone to see who is on any kind of a budget that you can put one of these packs together, and it will allow you to have the tools necessary for you to get home. And for something like $8, I think this is a pretty good deal. This is a knife that I got as a gift from Billy and Dee from Frontier Preppers. And I remember Billy telling me that he picked up a whole bunch of these because they were less than $5. So I'm putting a $5 mark on this one. And I've actually been using this knife for a while. My wife tried commandeering it from me. But this is actually a very nice knife. It has a very sharp edge. And so far we've had it almost a year. And it's done a great job. So make sure that you get yourself the best knife that you can afford. But like I said, this is a very nice little knife and it was less than $5. This is just a very cheap poncho made out of plastic. I think I paid about $1.48 or $1.47 for it. Now, many would say this is just junk, but this can be used to keep yourself and your equipment dry In addition to that, if you take this and put it on yourself and put your clothes over it, it will help to retain a lot of heat. So this can act not only as something that can keep you dry, but something that can help you retain heat. We all need light, and even though I have an EDC that hangs on my coat, I decided to get a couple of these headlamps because headlamps is really the way to go when you're traveling. That way it can free up both of your hands if you need to do something. Now these headlamps are very, very inexpensive. They were $1.14 a piece. So as you can see, I got 2 of them for a little bit of redundancy. And they actually work pretty well. So for $2.28, having a couple of cheap headlamps in your pack will really go a long way. Of course, we all need to have some cordage in our get home bag. And this is about 50 feet worth. And for 50 feet worth, it's less than $3 at Walmart. I just happened to get this out of my big bundle, but I checked the price at Walmart and it's less than $3 for about 50 feet worth of cordage. Right? You can get whatever cordage you want, but I really like paracord or 550 cord. Right? There's military style 550 cord because not only can you use it as a cord, but it's also got smaller cords on the inside that you can take out. You can de-gut this and have a lot more cord than what you started with. So I think this is essential. A lot of people like to get duct tape, and I think duct tape is great. I love Gorilla Tape. However, to keep it minimalistic and to keep it at a low price, I think that electrical tape is a great tool. When I was in Afghanistan, I always had a roll of electrical tape attached to my gear. That way I can get to it quickly, and I used it all the time. Now, many of us know how to make our own fire starters. We can get some cotton balls, dip them in Vaseline. You know, we can do all that stuff. But I thought that to get one at Walmart, this is the cheapest and best way to go. This is just a small fire starting block for when you start a fire, like in your fireplace or in a wood stove. And this was 98 cents. And I'm thinking that you can use your knife to scrape off a little bit of this. And this little 98-cent block of fire start will last you multiple fires. Definitely plenty for a 3-day hike. In order to start a fire, you're going to need a spark or a little bit of fire to begin with. I am not going to put a ferrocerium rod in there because this is intended for a 1 to 3 day hike to get home. So I put in here the things that are the easiest to use to start a fire. I picked these 2 things to have a little redundancy, but my first is this lighter. And the reason I picked a lighter like this is because all you have to do with this one is click it. All right? See that? You just click it and the fire turns on. You don't have to do the action like this with a big lighter. And the reason I like this is because if your hands are really cold, it's very difficult to do this several times. With this, all you have to do is click it. For a little redundancy, I went ahead and included one of these small packs of matches. This is actually one of the packs that was sent to me by one of our community members. But these are a dime a dozen. Literally, you could probably get like 10 of these for $1 at the dollar store. And it's great to have these as a backup. I included a couple of Ziploc bags that are freezer grade Ziploc bags. That way you can keep some of the things in there that you do not want to get wet. For example, you want to keep your matches and your lighter in there. That way they don't get wet. And then I included an additional one just in case you needed to collect water with one of these bags. This is a quart-sized bag, so you can easily put about 32 ounces of water in one of these so that you can then put it in your cup and disinfect it. And the second to last item is this tarp. A tarp is a great thing to have in case you do have to spend an overnight on your trip home so that it can block rain, and you can even use it as a sleeping bag if you have to. Now this tarp is just an 8 by 10 tarp. It should be big enough for you to set it up with your cordage so that it can block wind and rain, and so that it can hold in some of the heat from a fire that you may have to make right in front of it. There's another use for this tarp, and we'll get into that here in a second. The last thing is I actually kept the Walmart bag that all of this stuff came in. It's just an additional way of you to be able to carry things if you want to carry things that you find along the way. And it's another way to keep some things dry that you may not want to get wet. Now, I know what you guys are asking, or at least some of you are. AP, how are we going to carry all this? Well, like I said, I was trying to keep this as minimalistic as possible. So through a book that I'm reading, in just a second, let me show you this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I told myself that I would do after I retired from the rat race is that I'm going to spend at least a good hour a day reading. And I finally got to this book, The Longest Walk by Ron Foster. Sorry. The Longest Walk by Ron Foster. Now, he's one of our community members, and he sent me this book. I believe I showed it to you guys a long time ago on a mail call video, and I'm about 1/3 of the way done. Now, what I'm going to show you how to do next with this tarp, I learned from this book. I've got everything spread out on my tarp. My tarp is folded into quarters. So it's about 1/4 the size of what it would normally be if I unfolded the entire thing. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and line everything up in a straight line, leaving about 6 to 8 inches from each end. Once I've have it set up like this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this. Go like this. Roll it tight, and roll this together. And as you can see, it's all rolled in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now that you've got it rolled up, you're going to go ahead and make a loop on one end of your cord, and then you're going to go ahead and take the other end and pull it through. And we're going to go ahead and take this and tighten it up, get it nice and tight. Okay. Then all we're going to do is we're going to start rolling this around. And as you roll it, give it a little pull to tighten it up. Don't be afraid. The only thing that's going to break in there if you tighten it too tight is your ramen noodles. All right. You're going to keep doing that until you get to the end over here. And once you get to your end, don't forget to take your extra cordage and stuff it in there. Okay. You're going to want to leave about 6 inches on this end like we did in the other end. We're going to give it a couple of nice tight wraps. And then we're going to go ahead and try to loop it in there loop it in here so that we can tie an easy knot. That's not going to make it impossible for you to undo when you have to get into your package. Right. Okay. Let's go ahead and just put another one in there for good measure. Like I said, we don't want to make a knot that's going to make it impossible for you to do. You see? There you go. Then you're just going to bring this to the other side. We're going to tie it up again and put an easy knot on this as well. Simple knot. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or fancy. And there you go. Now what you're going to do is you're going to string this around you. Let me show you what this looks like. This Get Home bag or Get Home pack, whatever you like to call it, was less than $50 for everything in there. It's easy to put together and it's minimalistic, which means that it didn't cost you a lot of money. You don't have a whole bunch of stuff to lug around. It's easy to carry it in this way. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to go ahead and throw this in the back of my truck. And I have my Get Home pack that didn't cost me too much money. And I know that it'll work if I need it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you got something out of this. I hope that if you don't have one of these packs in your vehicles, that you go ahead and make one up. You don't have to go out and buy everything that's in here. A lot of these things you could probably find at home right now. But the idea is to have something like this in your vehicle just in case you get stuck somewhere and you end up having to, hump it home on foot. Having said that, thank you very much for joining in today. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. If you have any ideas on things that we can add to this pack to make it better, or things that we can take away from it to make it better, let us know in the comments. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm the Alaska Prepper. I'm out.